Let's talk about a number, $233,610. Now, you might hear that and think, okay, we're talking about a luxury sports car or maybe a down payment on a really nice vacation home. But no, according to baseline estimates from the USDA, that is exactly what it costs to raise just one single child from birth to age 17 in a middle-income American family. And the wildest part? That staggering figure doesn't even include a single dollar for college education, and it completely ignores the massive upfront costs of prenatal care and childbirth. It's just the baseline. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the economics of the American family. We're going to investigate a profound structural economic shift happening right now in the United States. Basically, we're looking at a series of deep market failures that are rapidly turning what used to be a standard American milestone, building a family, into an exclusive luxury.
Part 1, the baby bust, and the macroeconomic reality we're facing.
We've got a devastating macroeconomic reality on our hands. Data from the Centers for Disease Control shows a steep, undeniable downward curve. What we are witnessing is a massive 23% plunge in the general fertility rate since it peaked back in 2007. And by 2025, provisional data has this rate dropping to an absolute record low of just 53.1 births per 1,000 females. This isn't just a temporary blip. We are looking at a fundamental rewiring of American demographics. But when you look closely at those falling numbers, there's a stark demographic shift happening beneath the surface. Birth rates are actually plummeting for females aged 15 to 34, but they are rising for women 40 and older. Why is that happening? Well, it's because younger women are basically being forced to delay motherhood or skip it entirely under just crushing economic pressure. They're having to shift the fertility curve to older ages, literally racing against a biological clock simply to buy enough time to achieve financial stability. Which brings us to part 2, the housing trap, or the first major economic hurdle. It's pretty simple, right? If you want to start a family, you need a physical place to put them. But take a look at the Modern Family's budget ledger based on Bureau of Labor Statistics data. A truly staggering 33.4% of a household's total spending goes directly to housing. It is the single largest expenditure by a massive margin, and it's completely swallowing up the capital that previous generations used to actually raise their children. To really understand why housing is just eating the budget alive, you have to look at this stark juxtaposition. Between the year 2000 and 2024, real median household income in the United States grew by a modest 16.6%. But over roughly that exact same window, nominal median housing prices absolutely exploded by 144%. This is the broken math of the middle class. Those vastly escalating home prices have entirely eroded our household's purchasing power. And the direct result of that broken math is this specific number, 4.6. By 2022, Federal Reserve data showed that the median home value reached over 4.6 times the median family income. Just to put that into perspective, that surpasses the catastrophic highs we saw right before the 2007 housing crash. It effectively locks an entire generation out of the most basic prerequisite for family formation. Now, part 3, the childcare crisis, a truly profound market failure. Let's say a family somehow secures a home. Well, they immediately face what essentially amounts to a second mortgage just to care for the infant inside it. In very large counties, center-based infant care can reach up to $17,171 a year. Depending on exactly where you live, these prices easily consume nearly 20% of the median family income, and that's per child. So if you've got 2 young kids, your childcare costs can very easily eclipse your actual mortgage. And here is the truly heartbreaking irony of this market failure. Parents are being completely priced out by these exorbitant fees, and yet the people actually doing the daily work of caring for these kids are barely surviving. Child care workers earn a median wage of just $13.22 per hour. Because those wages are so incredibly low, labor turnover is massive, and that creates these vast childcare deserts. So in a lot of places, care isn't just unaffordable, it literally doesn't even exist. Moving on to part 4, the cost of living and the relentless squeeze on essentials. Healthcare costs right now are compounding at a terrifying rate. Since 1980, the cost of medical care has surged by 690%. To really grasp that, equivalent medical care that cost a family roughly $20,000 in 1980 would cost over $158,000 today. And here's the kicker. Unlike other expenses, healthcare is non-cyclical. It doesn't magically drop during a recession. It just keeps compounding year after year. These compounding, persistent price pressures just entirely devour a family's disposable income. Think about it. Medical care grows at 5.3% annually, which far outpaces overall inflation. We also just survived consecutive years of near double-digit food inflation, which pretty much erased the historical benefits of cheap agriculture in this country. And for those parents desperately trying to save for a child's future, college tuition increased 63% in just a single decade. This brings us to part 5, the debt burden, acting as a structural drag on the whole system. Long before a couple even meets, and way before they even begin to think about buying a home, they are already carrying a crushing weight. Student loans constitute the second largest household liability in America today. 22% of U.S. families hold outstanding education debt, carrying a median balance of $25,000. And crucially, this debt is heavily concentrated among bachelor's and graduate degree holders. Why does that matter? Because those are the very demographics that historically were most likely to secure stable careers and start families. The intense financialization of higher education forces young adults into an impossible bind. They literally have to delay family formation just to pay down their debt. By the time they finally service their loans, scrambled together a down payment, and reach some level of professional stability, it is often biologically or economically just too late to have the families they originally dreamed of. Finally, part 6, the future of family and the long-term consequences of all of this. When you take a step back and look at this exhausting financial gauntlet, the whole narrative completely changes. The plummeting American birth rate isn't some cultural mystery. It's not some sudden, inexplicable lack of desire to have kids. It is a highly rational, mathematical response to an unbearable economic reality. Millennials and Gen Z are looking at this step-by-step gauntlet, the student debt, the housing market, the childcare costs, the inflation, and they are simply doing the math. When things like housing, childcare, healthcare, and education become luxury goods, well, family formation becomes a luxury good too. And it forces us to ask one final chilling question. What happens to an economy and a society that prices its own future out of existence? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer.